And welcome everyone to the March 2022 Planet Poetry 28. I'm Mark Fishbein. This event, as you know, is a little bit unique in that we all share the screen and show our poems, show our written craft as well as our performance craft. And you can find us on YouTube in the channel Planet Poetry 28. And I'm Mark Fishbein, and I'll introduce myself first. I'm the host and the editor. I'll do it in third person. I'm a native New Yorker. He has a BA from CCNY in literature in 1971 and a maîtrise from the Sorbonne in Paris. He has 7 collections of poetry available, like we all have, lots of poetry books we have, including my last one, which was Reflections in the Time of Trumpius Maximus from Atmosphere Press. I'm the chancellor of the Academy of the Poetry Global Network. And I'm also a guitarist, and I'm known as Poet with Guitar. And I do play semi-professionally. I played at poetry readings and at weddings and stuff like that. And I'm also known as the share guy. They calling doing a share now in certain circles on Zoom, doing the Fishbein, which I think is really cool. So it's the worst ways to be remembered. So I'm going to begin. I was mentioning today, as a result of the Ukraine situation and all, that if you have certain poems, some of us will be offering some work about it. That's what I'm going to do. Certainly not obligatory by any means, but in these particular time, if you have one, it would be appreciated. I have a dozen poems or so about Ukraine. These are 4 of them. Let me get this. These times, no matter the sad music I play, or how I hide my face in my hands every day the murders are displayed, with film fresh from craters in the ground, where missiles struck faster than sound. Children in shock, amputated limbs, body bags, bones, and burnt skin. No matter how attentive to TV chatter as drones hover above the ruins, no matter the cameraman's portrayal of the blind bravery of Ukraine, no matter the hours I pass weighing this combination of words that I can only touch you with, you who have seen what I have seen. I never had to bear such suffering, no matter. By the pen, my war begins to recite the battle cry in hymns until the mad brutality will cease and the killers confess their crimes. Least I forget the horror of these times. Lineages. My grandparents fled Russia, now Ukraine, when Cossacks pillaged and cast the Jews away. All my roots are severed. I am just a Jew in name, settled in America in the passing century without a memory of shtetls or their stink, or that religion that rings so hollow to me. But oh, Zelensky, a Jewish comedian in a t-shirt pleading to the world on TV as cities are made skeletons with artillery. The nations choose their sides for history, all in a cage of bad possibility as Putin invades with predictable savagery. These horrified people, they are my kin, my lips, my eyes, my tone of skin. There is something primal imprinted in my essence that knows a bond of bloodstain, passing generations of wealth or disdain, which are married and are one and the same. What if Ukraine becomes Russia again? They were the Cossacks in their reign. But that was then, and much has changed. I'm helpless but to rage with their cries, defiant as a Spartacus, to defeat the tyrant in a fight to the death with him at their side. What of Haitians, Syrians, Uyghurs, who do not share my tribe or color hair? How much compassion can one heart bear? I am Russian, I am American, I am Ukrainian, I am David in the lion's den, spared by fate and found blameless before it. Humanity within me is a complex thing as I live my life in vain security. So dreaded the clamor of this war will bring. How can it be that the difference between us is we don't see ourselves as one in our guts, once enslaved, now filled with disgust? There was a woman that was arrested in Moscow for displaying a white blank paper. And I was trying to think of a poem, so I used Vosnesevsky, one of my favorite beat poets, as in the style of to write this poem, The State of Things in Moscow. The judges direct from Politburo, let there be no seditions, convict hooligans who carry blank posters, arrest and convict peddlers selling books with empty pages, blank canvases hung on walls, yet graffiti to glorify dead soldiers, nah. T-shirts, hats to be embroidered, screen print or heat transfer with thermochromic inks that glow in dark, with messages to support motherly love. I love mommy. I love Russia. I love grandma. I love Putin. See comrades marching in street with surgical tape across their mouths, wearing black shirts, Ushanka hats, lift high above their heads, a sea of white posters. The vomit of state news does not include event, but newspapers add blank pages. So when used for toilet paper, ink will not stain asshole. And this is kind of a highborn style of prose and micro poem afterwards called TikTok video. It's hard to be at peace in times of war. An aging man is walking alone in a neighborhood of high-rise apartments, just like the one I live in. He's wearing a beret and uses a cane. A missile hits the top floor of the building behind him. There is a giant flash of fire as the surveillance camera shakes from the explosion. He stumbles, almost falling over. He uses his cane to straighten up, adjusts his hat. He slowly turns around, sees the building's whole facade rumble down a huge cloud of smoke. He brushes off his coat, then shrugs and walks away as if resigned to not let this ruin his day, as long as there was a day left. I keep on thinking I am there, and I am not there. I'm in my own world, just like he is. I walk with the stranger on my cell phone, trying to grasp what I just saw. It's hard to be at peace in times of war. And thank you. Yeah, I think we can all unmute if you want. Actually, you don't have to stay muted if you don't care to. I don't mind hearing breathing behind, when a poet reads and all. But if you have extraneous noise, of course, please do. And thank you for all that. So I'm going to move on. I posted the list in the chat. Elemental, I didn't include you. I didn't know you were coming, but I'll get you in there if you care to. And I'm going to start with Jeremy Cantor. Jeremy's debut poetry collection, Wisteria from Seed, with a foreword by his former Boston Globe arts critic, Michael Manning, was published in 2015 by Kelsey Books. His work has been performed at the Boston Conservatory, set to music by composer Robert Gross, as well as in San Francisco and Tucson. He currently is working on a second volume of poetry. He began writing after retiring from a career in laboratory chemistry. He has made and tested engine oil additives, detergents, and pharmaceuticals. Driving a force truck, worked in a full-body acid-proof hazmat suit, tried to keep his fingers working in walking in minus 40-degree weather and behind radiation shielding. He prefers writing. Well, I've heard his writing and excited to share it with you, Jeremy.
Thank you. You can decide if this is about Ukraine or not. The songbirds. They leave familiar footprints, 3 toes forward, 1 toe facing back, the leg constructed so as to grip the perch without a thought, involuntarily, whenever the legs are bent. Nor does a songbird have to worry if the branch he's perching on should disappear from under him without a moment's warning. He won't claw wildly for the support that suddenly betrays him. Even as he spreads his wings and straightens out his legs, his toes release the branch without a thought. I was mistaken when I chose this twig, this branch, this tree, this forest full of songbirds, this place that I imagined I'd call home at last. It's not the place I thought it was. I try to grab the trunk and slow my fall, while branches scrape my skin and scratch my eyes, and opaque layered leaves obscure my sight. But still I see the songbird, unconcerned. Everything he'll ever need to know, when everything he counted on is gone, is in his tendons and his hollow bones. His birthright is the art of letting go. Mine is to have faith in what betrays. Nice kitty. When the world tires of its play, will it leave to seek more tasty toys? Or will it slap us once more to the ground, not lift its paw to watch us rise and run, but tear off shreds and pieces with its teeth until nothing's left behind but bits to proudly drop before the master's door? And will the master scratch behind its ears, cooing sounds of love and approbation, or sweep the steps off quickly in disgust and shoo the hunter back into the yard to lie down in the sun, to rest, to stretch, preparing for another evening's fun? Thank you.
Oh, thank you for sharing those. And it was good for me to see them, just how you composed them in the two sentences, you know, and two questions and how it worked. It was nice to see as well as to hear. Thank you for that, Jeremy. Nice, beautiful poetry.
Thank you.
And anybody, if you want, we can, of course, after a poet read, if you care to share a comment or two, please feel free to do so. Our next is Juliana Heng. Juliana, hi. She does spoken word because she feels that's a chance to be real with themselves and say things that they might not want to hear about or need to hear. Spoken word is her alter ego, stand-up comedy, a sanctuary to them to address issues without the need to be funny. Juliana, hi.
Hi. Hi, Mark. Hi, everyone.
Where are you from, Juliana?
Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
What time is it there now?
It's 4:18 a.m.
Oh, my dear, thank you.
Welcome, welcome. So I can share my screen, right?
Please do.
It's my first time here, yeah. Okay, so I'm sharing this piece of mine I just written like a couple of hours ago. Yeah, just for the theme of the show, yeah.
Thank you.
So it's called You Can Do It. Yeah. So stunned, numb, dumbstruck. These feelings permeate my soul like a sneak attack on my tailbone as I heard the news of the Ukraine invasion by Russia. The reason of invasion is unfathomable. Russia opines that Ukraine was a constant threat and Russia doesn't feel safe to develop and exist. This situation is bone-chillingly familiar. The relationship of Russia and Ukraine is just like my mother and I. When I was a child, I listened and followed everything mother asked me to do. No matter what I do, it is never good enough. Mother will sprinkle criticisms like salt to my wound that is constantly seeking validation. So I will always be her shadow, following her to the ends of the earth. When I grew up, I became independent. I managed to squeeze through the cocoon, flap my wings, and fly. My world expanded. I found my dream work. I found my circle of friends. I'm no longer a bonsai that is constantly being trimmed by my mother to fit into her pot of expectations. When mother knew that I'm rising up, she's deeply insecure, so she did her best to pull me back down to where she is. Every night, she invaded my peace of mind by degrading me, demeaning my chosen work, and dissing my fellow comrades. After 2 years, I decided to set myself free by fleeing away from her. I'd rather be a refugee than to be her prisoner, so that I can develop and exist as my own person. Even when we love someone, it doesn't mean we need to compromise who we are and succumb to violation of boundaries. There is a Mandarin proverb, 本是同根生，相煎何太急. It means we grow from the same root. Why the rush to fry each other? Culturally, Russian and Ukraine are much more similar in culture than the ethnic groups within Russia itself. To see such an abuse happening within the family is utterly disheartening, because even total strangers don't do that. Ukraine, since we share a strong kinship, we are sisters. I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, when you are unapologetic to be yourself wholeheartedly and grow exponentially in your journey, you will face lots of hardship bestowed upon you by insecure people. Mother Russia will not accept you for who you are and will do all she can to feed her insecurities, including draining your will to live, so that you can go back to be her bonsai. You may feel like you're trading honey on every step of your journey, but never ever give up, because we, the world, are on your side. Ukraine, do it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
And you just put that together before going to bed.
Yes.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us very much, Juliana.
Well said.
Said.
I love the way you expose your own vulnerability and analogize that to that of the Ukrainian people. It's very beautiful.
Indeed. Well, next up is Jeff Callis. Jeff is a descendant of Belarusian or Ukrainian Jews, depending on how you trace it. Music figures big in many decades of journalism, as well as his more recent poetry, which has been published in journals and newspapers. Brought up in Bar Harbor, Maine, he evolved into a family man in San Francisco, where he has read his poems in collaboration with jazz instrumentalists and singers online. He listens for the sound of self-conscious, like minds in international open mics. And I'll share your poem for you. Hi, Jeff.
I think Jeff left the room.
Oh, did he?
Yep.
Oh, he was there. I saw him there before. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I had Linda Barnes up before, but Linda's not here as yet. And so I'll come back to Jeff and move on to Leslie Constable. Hi, Leslie.
Linda Barnes.
Linda's in the room.
Oh,
Mark.
there you are in the corner. Oh, I'm sorry, Linda.
That's all right.
I meant Carolyn Minter. I'm sorry. Who was up? Your name, she was in, on the list I have here. I had Leslie next. And then, Linda, you see yourself on the list, right? It's in the chat. Okay,
I'm very far down, though.
I'll get you up there. Okay, we'll get everybody in very shortly. Leslie Constable is a U.S.-UK citizen who lives in the UK, Mexico, Santa Fe, New Mexico. She has a lifelong rock and roll hippie chick, adventurer, road tripper, activist, modern dancer, poet, painter. She worked as a journalist, art critic, university art gallery curator, and a studio arts and art history instructor. She's a veteran open mic performance poet who cut her teeth in late night venues in Sayulita, Mexico in 2008. She reads 6 to 8 times a week at international open mics on Zoom. She is a widely exhibited painter in the US and Mexico and sells her prints at artists and craft markets in Mexico. Her poems have been published in a variety of anthologies and journals since 1999, with a 2015 collection available on Amazon. Hi, Leslie.
Hello. I'm going to try to share the screen, so wish me luck. All right, here we go. I think I've got it. Yep. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, let's see if I can manage this. All right. The first poem I'm going to read is, I'm only going to read 3, is called Song. Orpheus dream incubator beneath the veil of waking. The fitful wind made me do it. I sigh mighty. It turned into a mighty roar, a war. The sea rose and flooded the land, and I took the boat inland. I have a train to catch. It's about time. I give you my darkness, all of it. I pour out to you and place as a gift at your feet from the dirt. And this gift of my heart's blood, I give to you. It grows and reaches. Never a thing was made that can satisfy when you feel you have nothing, when there is nothing but you standing in a vast field alone. Perpetua, hold this candle. If only you would purr, which you will never do. And I walk and walk alone this time, maybe swimming the vast eastern ocean to return home. It cannot be in the walking at night, in the echo of my footfall on the sidewalk, that I am recognized, visible, seen beneath the dream. And the second one is, the sea will take you. I like this one. The sea will take you if you swim past the rocks. Will it give you back? When you enter, how will it be with this, the agreement you have struck to surrender, and now be one with this body large and vast and your body small? Do you know, in this joy of submersion, the light play and sometimes fierce of the water having you, what it will do? In taking you, will the waters decide moving you? Will the sea decide? With taking you, in taking you, is that what you will allow? Or in your entering, surrendering to it in some way, do you decide? In going in, being taken, where would that be and is how it is and always has been? Is it a pact drawn up?
I think, Leslie,
Yeah, what happened?
I don't know. Was I the only one that was losing signal? As you started the second poem, share again and then start the second poem over. You had some Wi-Fi issues, perhaps.
Oh, okay. So it's not shared at this point, so I need to share it again.
Yeah, just put the same document on. Yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry about that, everyone.
No, please.
Okay. There we go. All right. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to start this one again. The sea will take you. The sea will take you if you swim past the rocks. Will it give you back? When you enter, how will it be with this, the agreement you have struck to surrender and now be one with this body large and vast and your body small? Do you know, in this joy of submersion, the light play and sometimes fierce of the water having you, what it will do? In taking you, will the waters decide? Moving you, will the sea decide? With taking you, in taking you, is that what you will allow? Or in your entering, surrendering to it in some way, do you decide? In going, in being taken, where would that be and how far will you go? Do you know? To know we are small when we enter the waters is that which is hidden from you, from us, your smallness, not something you can know. It is how it is and always has been this way. Is it a pact drawn up that moment of entry, the cells of each body vast with body small, the body and body now joined in movement, the shrieks of joy with the shock of water and surprise emitting from your throat that rivals the roar of waves, and you sing together the fierceness of life celebrating. If the sea takes you, will it give you back? And then finally, I'm going to read When I Speak Softly. When I speak softly, when I speak to you and I speak softly, I have something to say. When you shout, if it gets to that point, that place in that moment, when you scream, the subtlety of meaning, what you mean to say is lost and cannot be recovered. When you shout, I cannot hear you. You hear the sweet whispers of the lover. You hear the dulcet sounds of your mother singing you the lullabies of her people. Your people, you hear these. They register deep in your soul. We are made to only half listen to the harsh voice, to resist, to block, to not take into us, into the middle of our soft, soft bellies, the screams of another. Listen to me, my love, my friend, little child, my sister or brother. Listen to me when I speak to you softly, because this is love. And that's all for me tonight. Thank you.
Nice.
Oh, very tender. Really,
Bravo, Leslie. That was gorgeous.
really a lovely, tender poem. And I'm sure Barry, who's visiting us here, not reading, but thank you for coming, Barry, would enjoy a big sailor and a sailing instructor and lover of the sea. So
thank you for the invitation.
And all of that, and great stuff, as always, Leslie. Thank you very much.
Beautiful poems throughout. Very good.
Jeff, I had introduced you and I was handing over the stage to you and I didn't see you were at your desk.
Sorry about that.
That's quite all right. So if you're ready,
but it's great to hear Leslie.
That's great. If you're ready, I have the share ready for you.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, and you've introduced me.
I did introduce you, yes.
So I can go right to it.
Indeed.
All right, so this first poem, they both have a little bit of music in them, which is probably not a surprise to Mark or to anybody else who has been with me for a while. And the first one is based on that kind of music that Mark loves, which is Brazilian music. Specifically, this song is from the soundtrack to the Brazilian-French movie in English titled Black Orpheus, in the original Orfeo Negro, which is set in Rio de Janeiro at the time of Carnival. And the score, the music was shared by principally Antonio Carlos Jobim and Vinicius G. Moraes. In both of them combined on this particular song, which is called Minha Felicidade, which means in Portuguese, my happiness. Although interestingly, the tone of the song and the subject matter has to do with way beyond happiness. Tristeza no tem fim, felicidade sim. Sadness, it sings, has no end in silence, but happiness happens prettily, turns heads, launches laughs, and then is off and gone towards someone, somewhere, sometime else. All she left to my abandoned eye, sighs the poet, is a small joy trembling upon a petal, upon a flower, the seed of an orphan crying in my voice, watering where I write this. But listen, I write wonder too. I watch my wonder spawn, both sad and happy. I wonder why they both look so much like me. and word me back as they go on, the each of them needing the other of the each of them, siblings in feeling. As family, we visit the next verse. The siblings both reach towards a feather, dazzled by its yearning towards the wind, a joy, a sorrow. The wind then whispering, as lives, however long, you'll blow on by. Blow past the writer and the words, past the making something of it. There is no wind that doesn't want to rest. There is no wind that doesn't want to rest. Precisa caja vento sem parar. Tristeza no tem fim. This is your rest. Thank you. And this next poem, summoned by Mark, is based on a Ukrainian folk song. When I began reacting to the Ukrainian situation, I realized, since I'm not really a political writer, I don't think of myself as one, that my way into this would be through music. So I researched Ukrainian folk songs, looking for one that I would be able to put there to the side as I wrote and react to it. And this song is this folk song is Golubitsa Moya, which in Ukrainian means my dear dove. Golubitsa Moya.
Come here, Banjo. Quick. Banjo, come on.
Please mute for Jeff. Thanks.
I'll begin again.
Thank you.
Come on, Banjo.
Who's that? I'm have to mute everybody.
That might be Max.
It's Max. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, Max. Golubitsa moya, Golubitsa. Dove of love, why must you warble across the dawning of a day of dooming? Coo, coo, coo into the coming of the crawling of the cruel, while all the world is watching but not hearing, as you grieve for the heaven you should have along your hills, the ample, ancient, quiet fruit, now spoiled by their speeches, rotted by reports. Golubitsa moya, Golubitsa. There is a joyous song for you, for us, for you, upon our unarmed hands. Your wings have wearied, waving over borders, your airstreams chased by flights of greedy metal. How can you watch for beetles and for flowers? How can you know how home should look and smell? Golubitsa moya, Golubitsa. Please, find a way to follow, to hide inside my heart and keep us warm. I promise I will keep us safe in kindness, and I will find a way to bring us home. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Jeff. Yes, tristeza não tem fim, felicidade sim. That seems to be the case in Ukraine as well. Yes, happiness, sadness has no end, but happiness ends. The Brazilian national anthem. Thank you for sharing those lovely poems with us and your explanations, Jeff. Indeed.
Brilliant. And I loved your voice as well as your reading. Excellent.
Thank you. And thank you all for helping keep happiness alive and letting us help extend it out.
Yeah. Max, is Max here? Oh, yeah, there you are, Max. Okay. All set? Let me introduce you then. Max, for decades, Annapolis poet Max Oakes used stolen moments to scribble poems at night while working for day for his country's anti-poverty agency and the local conflict resolution center. His famous cousin, songwriter Phil Oakes, Max has maintained a faith in what organizers call for just causes, like his famous cousin. Many poems reflect on his career as a mediator, activist, and teacher. Other chronicle ongoing dialogue between a failed atheist and the gods. Achieved podcast his poetry music can be found on Grace Cavalieri's The Poet and the Poem, a primitive American musician. He also does licks and some great blues guitar, has some of his CDs. Max, wonderful folk musician and jazz musician. You can see some of his CDs featured on 2005 CD, Hooray for Another Day. Oakes lives with his wife, Suzanne, the picturesque Severn River, just north of Annapolis in Maryland. It's in a beautiful spot, which I've had the privilege of seeing. Max.
Thank you for doing this so consistently, and the wonderful gift it is to our poetry community. And also, Jeff, that's one of my favorite movies, Black Orpheus. And Leslie, I love that poem where you said, when you shout, I can't hear you. That was great. Right, as in ritual. Suppose one could see the whole newsreel at once. Would that be the way God sees time all the time, as though the whole sacred movie tracked with music has happened already? Not being God, I used peyote for sacrament. When Rite of Spring played on the radio, entire reels unwound like galaxies' tales. Then God conjured life from lightning, salt in a mess of sea rocks. She spun earth until our sphere glistened slimy black in birth. It was one way to watch the whole ballet, as if already it had happened. Only God beholds the helix complete, a rolling bridge of universal DNA, beautiful and bellied out like a galactic spinnaker. No, not unless I ate that cactus could I have imagined stars fusing plasmid in the noontime day. I lived maybe as you live, frame by frame, banging on the doors of perception, hungry for revelations of unified truth. God shot stars out to make the daytime so that young braves with shining eyes could receive visions with sacrificial fire. Since morning, my appetite for prophecy has dwindled. Now all I desire is a home, a life as an old man who long ago heard Stravinsky's Lyre and wanted to know. And this one I wrote in February of 2020, over 2 years ago, little knowing that in January of 2022, I would actually contract COVID-19. Fortunately, I had been triple jabbed, so it wasn't so bad. Contact tracing. Coins dropped in my palm from the hand of the guy at 7-Eleven. The Visa card I put back in my wallet without disinfecting. The liquor store kid who carried Pinot Noir to the car. Perhaps the mail brought in the house before waiting for one of the Amazon packages, or the unwashed heirlooms from the farmer's market. Was it the keypad of the ATM? The little girl who smooched Banjo, my promiscuous dog, and I apologize about that, joyfully running up to her. Tree man from Guatemala, one of our hood's maskless gang, an asymptomatic dick who thought safe six funny, then tested sick. Stay one cow apart, sign in Vermont. Too late now. What's the difference? Which vector shed virus anyhow? Let me not spend my last few days on ventilator to end wishing I'd left the world one readable piece. To die incomplete, no big deal. I've been a ghost for years, only half experiencing the river sky, the poetry, the here. And one more, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure, Max.
A framework for understanding war. For understanding this war, said Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, here is a framework. It is okay. They're already dead. Their whole army's gone, so go fight. Killing's a duty that must be done, even with cousins and uncles. These are old ideas for which willful men wage new war, dying beyond head and ken for ideas of Moses or of Muhammad. Not diligent nor adept as many old books, my ideas need spelling out on wings of sound. Act with no thought of fruits as certain rights. Throw yourself between history and understanding. This damn war already be over. Humans try to see out the window, but not into themselves. Lord, close the window with a bang. If you've nothing to say, shut up. We're caught between the crosshairs of Holy Scripture and the balance sheet. Much as we study old ideas, for which we minus new men, minus our mind as well, we will not really miss it. Thank you.
Really love that.
Oh, thank you again. That's a good set. I remember the second poem was the poem when I met you 2 years ago. It was the first poem that you did at one of the workshops or open mics that we had. And I said, I got to get to know this guy, because that was exactly how I felt. And ending the poem with the here, that kind of resonated. It never left me. So it's posted that now, the here was wonderful. And
I love being part of this community, and I'm going to mute now so that if I call my dog, I won't be rude.
Thank you. Thank you, Max.
Max, I wonder if you're sustaining more of a contact high or a flashback from that peyote than you're giving yourself credit for, because you're writing such beautiful stuff.
Indeed. When next we have, and I think if you didn't see, I thought I had posted the list, but I have after Max, I have David Schiller, then Jay, then Arsene can't make it. She unfortunately had food poisoning, and she last second couldn't make it. And then Linda Barnes, Finn, Christopher, and let's see who else is here. Indeed, and then Donna, and then Skyle, Osana, and then Elemental. If you can hold out there, that'd be great. And like that. So
and how about Skysa?
Skysa is after Donna, yeah, and before Oksana. Okay. Anyway, so for next is David Schiller. David, are you there? I saw you came in.
He'd like to go next after me.
I can go in a couple of minutes. I'm not quite home yet.
Oh, sure, David. Yeah, no, I'll pass by a couple of poets, so take your time. Oh, so Jay Broder. Jay is a friend from workshop fellow and a great commenter, as well as a great poet, as you'll find. He lives in Toronto, a citizen of 3 different countries, a former academic for a nonprofit executive, a permanent parent, and hopefully a poet. Thank you.
I actually sent you an updated bio, which has the most important part, which is a new grandfather.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to honor Mark's request for a Ukraine poem. This poem will be in a collection put out by a number of Canadian poets as a fundraiser. Any proceeds will be matched by the government of Canada. And if you're interested, I put the information in the chat if you want to contact me about that. Okay, share screen. Okay, here we go. What we need beyond the pale. Don't send thoughts and prayers. Don't send bandages, gauze, splints, medical tapes, syringes. Send what will keep us from needing them. Send Javelin anti-tank missiles, counter battery radar systems, KPV 14.5 Vladmirov heavy machine guns, or even Viktorov 12.7 millimeter heavy machine guns, Stinger SAMs, grenades, RPGs, howitzers, fuel, ammo. Send blood, lots of blood. Wow. The memo. I didn't get it, the one about happiness. Or maybe my mother didn't get it. There you go again. Sure, I'm to blame. I wasn't in class when they handed it out. Wait, they ran out just before they got to me. Yes, and me, comfortable in the familiar, embraced the snub. So where does it say we deserve to be happy? It was a godsend, I thought, to be overlooked, skipped over, not deserving, Deus ex machina. So I gifted myself this anti-memo, an idol in the freedom it bestows. Yes, as I've always said, you lack ambition. Not from column A. Every May on the same Sunday, late afternoon, we three walk to the only Chinese restaurant for blocks. In the shadow of the Jerome Avenue L, we enter, past that huge fish tank, denizens bloated with crusty jaws, mouths bellowing, bulbous eyes askew, staring past me, undoing any stirrings of appetite, so that the one dish you and I share fits budget. In that place already dusked with deprivation, we may choose any one item from column B, since father steaks spare ribs, the only food remotely familiar enough for him to stomach. For dessert, the inexorable arguments between the two of you, the fallen cake baked on this day of fermented disappointment roils until the same Sunday, next May, the one day you don't have to cook. And I will end with a fairly new form for me, a prose poem form called Wings. Wings. Not even briefly, so briefly, soaring high. Oh, how you had prepared all the flaps, rudders, and ailerons moving smoothly, the fluids leveled at their marks, pure and uncontaminated, ready to go, all the weights appropriate, nothing out of balance, the smooth, undinged, unnicked, nothing compromised, props, proper pops, lots of caution there, exhausting all the checks and permissions, prepared for the worst, well weaponed and well supplied. Caught in a downwash, not quite right with the angle of attack, how much to bank, how much to roll, constantly changing your velocity, changing your direction, never foiling the air. All is instrumental, altitude and attitude, speeds, all is compassed. Here, leaning into the centripetal forces, intuiting a power curve too soon abandoned, flirt with a crash. Tail spinning in ever convoluted downward arcs, succumbing to your brand of gravity, never full thrusted throttle. Right there, the joystick. Stick it, boy. Do it big. Balls to the wall. Drag. Vortex yawing. Engine cut. Gliding. Failed attempts at volplane. The wind can take you only so far, can keep you aloft only so long. You can never truly catch it with so much geared for a soft, safe landing. Thank you.
Beautiful, Jay. Congratulations, Grandpa.
Yes, thank you, Jay. And thank you also for continuing to experiment with all different types of forms as you do. I think it's great. And that first poem was certainly
instant classic. I would call it an instant classic.
Yeah. And as far as the prose poem on Wednesday, I'm having an impromptu cafe thing, which you can just reach me in my if you care to join. Just going to be sit around the table and talk about prose poems, which depending on which side of the fence you are, just bring your boxing gloves and we'll all have fun. Of course, nobody will win, but it's fun. but it's fun. But it's fun to do anyway. It's kind of important. And
all in the name of poetry.
All in the name of poetry. It'll be great. So I'm going to move on to Linda Barnes and let David settle in another for a shot. Linda, I have your poems here. Linda began writing short stories and keeping a journal in childhood. As a young mother, she corresponded with Anais Nin and organized an appearance by her in Colorado, one of my favorite writers when I was in college. Barnes is mentioned in Nin's published diaries. She began focusing on poetry in 2000 and trained in both journal and poetry facilitation after graduating with a master's degree in psychology. She teaches expressive writing methods in workshops and online. She is past president of the International Federation for Biblio-Poetry Therapy, since she dislikes writing bio notes like these. Well, that's a great bio, Linda, thank you. Do you want me to share or you want to do it?
No, you go ahead, but I could, as is common with me, I couldn't decide, so I submitted too many poems. So we'll see. I will just take a sample.
Sure. Okay, I see what you mean. Okay, well, here's the first one you have, if that's okay.
Yes, political citrus with pomegranate. Or on hearing another self-proclaimed poet spit out his political rant at the open mic. Perhaps lies look like lemons, thick-skinned, harsh grenades, or lovely globes of orange, tart, juicy, pulpy tasting, peeled down piece by piece to their bitter seeds. Hypocrisy might be of a grapefruit, plump and hefty in the hand, thin-skinned and sour, flesh flushed rosy, easy to take offense and prone to spit in your eye. Is honesty a key lime, rare and seasonal, small and smooth and much too hard to eat without a lot of sugar? Any country could be a pomegranate, right? Sliced open, inside you would find the jeweled seeds of the future, tough and tasty, coated in their ruby syrup, cupped by former generations. I have a thing against poems that don't have any specific images. You know, when you talk about peace, love, war, etc. I also start a lot of series, and I did a series of poems called Getting to Know Them, in which I imagined being at Billy Collins' house first thing in the morning while he's having his cigarette and sitting on William Stafford's couch. And this one's called Dinner with Naomi. She looks delicate, so I would be self-conscious, even if she were not an accomplished and celebrated poet. But tonight, I stammer and almost spill my wine, ruby in the glass, lit from within by her insights and quivering with my own desire to be liked. Her laughter is serene, fine music with a trace of self-deprecation, like a descant moving beside the higher chant. She's eating an olive as if it were an actual food item, nibbling at it with small, impossibly white teeth, with fingers suited for opening pomegranates or pistachios, peeling ripe oranges, playing the flute, writing with a fine nib pen across pure paper under a tree in the shade. Not here in my backyard deck beside late season dandelions going to seed in the grass and the neighbor's duck complaining about the neighbor's dog. But the wonderful thing about dinner with Naomi is that she's comfortable here with me, and before dark, I'll relax too and finish the wine. I've met her at a couple of readings and sent her this poem, and she said she didn't drink wine, but she liked the poem. Oh, here. Are you able to show the tarot card with this, Mark? Can you do a side by side?
I could try. Hold on a second. Yeah. Hold on, please.
So as I say, I like to do a series of poems, and I started this one. This is a series on the tarot, the Rider-Waite tarot. Circus is not the right poem. It's the
Oh,
Fool.
that's a problem. I'd have to redo the PDF, so I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well,
yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, let's just do the dancing on the edge of the illusion of control. This is from the zero card, the Fool in the Rider-Waite tarot deck. Nobody begins the journey on a stormy day. Sun bright, night forgotten, we step forth with our lightweight packs, believing they hold enough to sustain us. Forget maps, we're trusting intuition and the recommendations of strangers who read our palms by midnight. But that's much later, after hunger and getting lost. Everything feels possible in the certain dawn. How clear the horizon, how eager the air. We believe in everything, even ourselves. And the little dog dances his joy beside. So, and then go to the very last one, Our Town. There. Tonight at the county fairground, every pickup truck in the valley waits row on dusty row while absent owners troll the gun show at the exhibition hall. It's the kind of town a newcomer observed where you get free beef when you buy tires. And that is true. But out where the green hills roll up to wooded slopes, on the land that ranchers and orchardists could not afford to keep and the little acreages sold out when the timber industry collapsed. Subdivisions boast organic gardens and the immigrants build in-ground pools, raise emus, and keep llamas, which are worth more per breeding pair than the double wides the pickup trucks drive home to when the gun show ends. I live in Oregon, and that's our town. Thank you.
That's so
Linda,
true. Yeah.
What was that, Naomi Shahib Nye?
Yes. Yes.
I'm in Michigan currently. There are 2 llamas being bred about a half a mile from here. I pass them all the time. Yeah, they're all over the place.
They are.
Very
cool. Popular.
But those were wonderful. I don't think I'll think of olives the same way in the future.
I've always considered them only a garnish. So
are they really food? And some other wonderful moments there. Thank you, Linda. What a pleasure to meet you.
Thanks so much for the invitation.
Share your poetry with us.
I'm enjoying this very much.
I just learned that olive is a fruit.
Indeed.
Can't compare to the strawberry though, Max.
Well, hi, David. Welcome in. I see you're comfortable in your office now, and thanks for that. David is a fellow Francophile and attends a lot of workshops together, and a great friend. He's based in Queens, New York, where I come from. He's a poet, translator, occasional actor, and director. He studied Francophile literature, focusing on poetry and theater. He's a voracious reader, film, TV, and comic book buff, and knows more about French hip hop than you could possibly imagine. You could find him always at waxyandpoetic.com, which I've gone to. David, take it away.
Thank you. And thanks so much. I'm always very honored when Mark invites me to come read for these things. And you guys, I came straight from work, and it was the best commute and I've had a long time. I just got to listen, and I hate the Zoom experience on my phone, but I heard some great poetry. So thanks everyone that I was able to listen to. And I think it was Jeff earlier that said he doesn't write much political poetry. And I'm of the W.S. Merwin school. I think all poems are political, whether you're searching and celebrating happiness or whether you're decrying the evils of the world or defending the oppressed. It's all political. So thanks for everybody's expression of that here today. Let me share my screen. This first one's called The Stub Gatherer. Can everyone see that okay? Should I zoom it in a little bit more? He is strolling, and it is most certainly a he, the bell streets of Belle Epoque Paris, in one hand with a bit of luck, a wispy bit of broom, hovering round the terrasse of Le Procope post-lunch, late night at Les Deux Magots, his eyes darting for the mégots littering the ground, under the chairs and tables of the departed diners and denizens, half or mostly smoked, discarded between the cheese and the cognac, between the seductive whisper and the hurried departure, between courses and seatings from noon to night. And when a bit of broom proves elusive, the deft, gloved, hopefully, hand serves as well, collecting the precious stubs and butts whose bits of tobacco escape the flame and puff of the academic, or the writer, or the mistress, or the painter, or the server. Unsmoked ends by the dozens, collected and collated, split to release the precious brown strands of flammable leaf, laid on a block and chopped, a fine new mince mixing the day's fines, scraped and plowed into a new bag with its scoop and cup, ready to make the rounds in the Jardin de Luxembourg, where the pipe smokers will get the stuff to stuff their pieces, to puff and fume, long before a wily surrealist says it ain't so. And this next one is called Counter-Composition 1. To conjure the iron oxide to rust tanks dead on their tracks, to place in pockets sunflower seeds where the end of your mistake will eventually be marked, to erase the imaginary lines that sketch imperialist dreams, to jab brains with a dose of sense and arms of science, to end the sentences of written injustice, to finish the work of the ancestors and yesterday's labor too, to demolish the wall around the locked door, to keep kids alive, to give the tears ink to run and paper to preserve their memory, to leap from life to life, putting right, irrespective of size, every fault, faux pas, and folly. And this one is untitled. Breath in, and you could hear the bombs in the far off, and you could feel the collective shrugs, and you could sense the anxious wait at the borders and train stations and deserted main streets, and you would cringe at the equivocating, wince as the salutes and collaborator waves mirrored, and you would forget where wonder and worst case and latest breaking news blurred into each other. Which sound is the worst sound? The wails of children, the lamentations of wives and mothers, the frightened grunts and prideful groans, the cha-chings, the laughs, the cackles, the silence. Which feeling is the worst feeling? Explosions, empty homes, clenched fists, the weight of a dead phone, the end of an embrace. Each day is like the one before, presaging the one following. I just feel like exhaling. And this is the last one. It's untitled as well. I have a couple of Ukraine poems. So, and this is with an epigraph by Ilya Kaminsky, which is in an op-ed he wrote for the New York Times last week. In the middle of war, he is asking for poems. She is planting with aplomb sunflower seeds. And she is interrupting the late broken news with truth bombs. And he is calling his mother, tear-streaked, talk to fill her in. And he is dusting off rifles and old uniforms, and she is trekking, Dogs on leash, cats in bags border on the horizon. And he is making video speeches, dressed in bombardment casual. And they, stubborn and strengthened, resist. And they, the other they, look on, fingers crossed and plugged in ears, muffling and muting the symphony of pleas and plaints and history's echoes. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, yeah. It was such command to such rich imagery. Thank you, David. It was just a great set, really.
Thank you,
Thank you so much. Those very kind words in the chat. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Just keep telling it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know that. We think many of us saw that piece in the Times or went kind of viral about that poet. Who's indeed, yeah, very moving as well for a finish. Yeah. Thank you. Well, next I have Finn Bell. Finn Bell, as you may know, is somewhat of a superstar in the Zoom world with a wonderful podcast that does every week for a couple of years, the Poets Lighthouse, and a variety of other activities which we attend, an open mic, which has become a great favorite of mine and many others. Finn Bell is a San Francisco Bay Area poet, writer, host of PGN's The Poet Lighthouse, as well as Finnacabulary. She wrote poetry featured in Postal Magazine's inaugural issue, Beginnings, has anthologies from 2021, 10 Years of Poetry in the Brew, and the Bronx Memoir. You can find her hosting weekly online mic every Thursday. She posts regularly in vocal and medium name under Trisha de Jesus Gutierrez or Finn Bell. She's passionate about crafting events and programs that make the literary arts, in poetry in particular, accessible and widely accessible. She used to be a superhero of creatures big and small in a past life. That's nothing new about you, Finn, I didn't know. You can follow her on Instagram at Finn Bell and on Twitter. And she'll put her things in the chat for us. Thank you, Finn, for sharing. We can see you might be on. There you are, okay.
Okay, so here it goes. And thank you so much. It's been a while since I've been here to Planet Poetry. Thank you, Mark, for the invitation again. So on National Women's History Month, this is for all my sisters, but especially for the third culture babies like myself, for the warrior women who strive harder and are still given less because they are women of color. I just want you to know that I see you. This first poem is called 6 Inches. I was thinking about the ghostly gum trees. I was thinking aloud in conversation with a friend the other day about wearing my heart on the hidden torn part of my sleeve and about bad behavior. Bad form, like Captain Hook used to say to Pan when the Pan child was naughty. Naughty. Do you know that's how I felt for a very long time? A grown woman who is supposed to know the hows and whats of keeping a tidy house, keeping my tongue in my mouth, knowing the exact proper ratio of skirt length in relation to my knee, of dipping neckline to neck. 3 inches above the knee is a special brand of saucy. 6 inches and I should go back home and put on more clothes, according to a helpful coworker who ogled my pantyhose unclambed limbs with a wide grin, reproach barbed in well within his mind, making his lust acceptable. My breasts are friends, do you know that? Allies and instigators. I point them just right and they qualm the argument before it begins, buys perks, coquettes their way to favor. I did not know then what I know about myself now as a warrior woman. I didn't realize my own body was mine to keep or share on my own terms, cradle of my power and my femininity. Who spread the first lie about Eve and original sin and punishment for our female form? When did the divine become shame to divvy and barter? I place myself on every altar now, and every land before me, and in my yoke dryad past, and every eye is fear that crossed male faces when we unlocked our legs and revealed our sacred energy. It was too much, too much. We became too much, too ripe, too ready, too red-lipped, too ugly, too fat, then not enough, not worthwhile, not anything to call home about, until we became absolutely nothing at all. The second piece, some of you may have heard already. It's called Further Reflections on Not Being Pinay Enough. And it starts with a song that also may be familiar to some of you. Further Reflections on Not Being Pinay Enough. Look at me, I will never pass for a perfect bride or a perfect daughter. Can it be? I'm not meant to play this part. Now I see that if I were truly to be myself, I would break my family's heart. I say, look at me, but I don't truly want you to see. I want you to superimpose a pert nose, a figure, bayabas or sampalok tree, slender and tall, not the stout, ground-hugging trunk I was given. Though the salted water of the ocean, kagragatan na tumitira sa uktuk-tuk ng ulo ko, blew easterly wind benediction in my direction, naming me native daughter. Our collective colonial mentality could not spy me past the translucent found inside mestisang bangos that also ordained that my crowning glory should be the exact replica of a regal baby's buhok palmolive. My tiyo punctuated my tropical fever initiation into a newborn life, brown, nestled among brown, with the oddest premonition, seeing the sweat beads gather on my nose, and making the prediction that I would marry early. But this still did not make me the store-bought picture of domesticity. I failed at that too. Too many pots stirred while singing top 40s, the stifling heat of a stovetop, my captive audience. This still did not make me the meek and obedient daughter. I could not comply, Daddy. I couldn't fashion this disaster into a child who you could show off to relatives and acquaintances. The world was seducing me and waiting outside the door, and the prepackaging of this provincial life boxed me in, cellophane wrapping tight. Wrong tale, naturally. I cannot be that Disney princess either. I am not meant to play this part. Who is that girl I see? I am careful, concentration as I drink in her every feature. Why does her face take shape inside my mind, but step just out of reach when I try to meet her? Does anyone know this impudent woman and why she finds it so amusing to be staring straight back at me? She's me. She is not. You are lying. Why does this reflection, someone I don't know, upon my pale arms are lovely scars of my own creation? Barot saya merely blur the racier edges ng katawan ko. Somehow I cannot hide who I am, though I've tried. When will my reflection show who I am inside? Thanks.
Oh, that's so nice. That should be required reading for every coming of age person.
Yeah, so such nice honesty.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. It's so nice also to see your see the craft as I hear your voice, your lovely voice as well. I don't think I heard it sound so sweet. So thank you for singing as well. Wow. A deep breath before Christopher George. Christopher, thanks for waiting, and thanks everyone else for hanging out throughout the process here. And for you, Juliana, it must be like 6 in the morning or 5 in the morning. And
5:20 a.m.
Thank you for hanging in there. Much appreciated, all the poets. Well, Christopher is a person we've seen around in the Zoom world. He's born in Liverpool in 1948. He emigrated to the US at the age of 16 with his parents in 55, but returned to the UK to experience the swinging 60s. He reemerged in the US in 1968 and studied poetry with Sister Maura Eichner and Elliot Coleman. He has published in journals worldwide, has a poetry site, Chris George, Net Publish, she'll put in the chat, and a bunch of other different sites. Different to writing poetry. Chris is an artist, photographer, song lyricist, and certainly a historian. I have his book on the War of 1812, and he has many other books on Jack the Ripper, and does essays on Edgar Allan Poe and a whole bunch of other stuff. A most interesting chap from Liverpool. Christopher now lives in Newark, Delaware, where he has for some time with his wife, Donna, sister-in-law Lisa, 2 rescue cats, and a mini pincher. Take it away, Chris.
Okay, about 10 years ago, I came across a book by my mentor, Sister Maura Eichner, in a Towson, Maryland bookstore, and it was just $2. So I had to buy it. And first poem that I'll read is about that. If I can find it. Here we go. Somewhere. Oh. Wait a minute. I know it's here somewhere. I'm sorry. Get messed up here.
Chris, do you want to, can I move on maybe to the next, and then you take your time and come back into it? Is that okay?
Yeah, do that, because I don't know why I can't find the damn thing.
Sure, that's okay. So our next poet is Donna Snyder. Donna, I just recently met. Where are you, Donna? There you are. Sorry, on the screen there. Indeed. She practiced law for 33 years, representing indigenous people, immigrant workers, and people with disabilities. Donna has founded the Tumblewoods Project in southern New Mexico in 1955 and continues to organize its free weekly writing workshops in the Borderlands region of Texas, New Mexico, and Chihuahua.
Chihuahua. Just like the dog, Chihuahua.
Chihuahua. Snyder has edited poetry pages from El Paso Bar Journal and newspaper Tree, a political periodical. She also volunteered as poetry editor to Return to Mago, an online feminist weekly magazine. Gutter Snob Books will publish her 4th poetry collection, As Meaningful as Any Other. Due to in summer of 22, she has 3 other collections of poetry. Tongue Has Its Secrets, Neo Poesis Press, Poemas ante El Catafalco, Grief and Renewal, and I Am South, various presses. Donna has worked with many anthologies, magazines, and journals. Her poetry has been translated into Bangla and is forthcoming in a literary magazine in Bangladesh. Interesting. Nice to meet you, Donna. And I'm going to share for you.
Mark, thanks for inviting me. I just was interacting with Mark yesterday, and he invited me, so it's I'm not super prepared the way all of you are, but I look forward to it. And I want to thank Fen Bell for introducing
Vámonos, Miss Donna. Bravissimo.
Okay. I want to thank Fen Bell for introducing me to Mark. I will be presenting 2 workshops for the Poetry Global Network this month.
Yes, indeed.
This First poetry. Imagine yourself on a border, in a border city, in a barrio, right there on the border, and on the walls every few blocks is a great mural. El Paso is one of the great mural capitals of the country. And there's a great mural of the La Virgencita de Guadalupe, the Virgin of Guadalupe, who wears a star-covered cloak. This poem is about refugees. And so I dedicate it to those from Ukraine. A neon desert, the only sea. Awareness moves to the right. Electric asters line a green sky. Brake lights baffle the eyes. Are you paying attention? Traffic moves to the right. Think of Louisiana, think of Japan. People disappeared. Structures on stilts still can't outwalk the waves. A fissured world shifts in its sleep, as sure as the earth beneath your feet. This may be the only world we know. Secrets and lies in camouflage. The stranger's smile, all teeth and eyes. Detainees in your backyard, herded like cattle into the corralón. Downtown, old men still hide numbers tattooed on their wrists or nopales on their forehead. Catastrophe is our only home now. Dying cougars, shot, more dead. Unknown bodies beneath the ground, spying soldiers spread across the sky. A neon desert, the only sea. Even metals gone to driest dust. Hear the sound of air through shell. Scent of water glosses the lips of statues. Birds in treetops sing departure. There's about to be an accident. Our mama on the wall wears green and blue. She stands on the moon, blots out the sun. Birds gather in treetops praying for all the people dead and gone. Dancers dance with feathers and shells. Mama's starry cloak shelters her son, the one with the nopal tattooed on his forehead. Pray for mercy. Pray for the woman who lives in her car, the detainees in our own backyard, men with guns at every gate. People disappeared on the river edge, deprived of the solace of rivers and rocks. Our mama damp with migrant workers' sweat. Lights wander the other edge of darkness. Nothing sure but this earth beneath our feet. Are you paying attention? Secrets and lies with teeth and eyes. This is your home now. Another day, another catastrophe. It's the only world we've ever known. Earthworks break into thunderclaps. Random red lights baffle the eyes. Birds falling from the dying blue. Lost fish floating in the dying sea. Thank you. Thanks, Jeff. That was in Poemas Ante el Catafalco, Grief and Renewal, which was published in 2014. It was my second collection of poetry. And this one is coming out the 30th of March, March 30th. So it's a brand new publication, published in Oxygen, Parables of the Pandemic out of Los Angeles, and it's called Sanctified. She can make the heat death of the universe a thing of beauty, and an exploding star an object of desire. But the gravity of untimely death eludes her magic. Killers proceed like a curse written in an ancient alphabet. Death indifferent to color or class, turns crowns of glory into meat hooks, pierces our flesh, steals our breath, pulls us into the final black hole, our bodies sanctified, the mix of every color together, disappear into the ultimate dark. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure to listen to all the other writers.
It's more than a pleasure to listen to, and I look forward to. One nice thing about this event for myself is that afterwards I can always go to the to YouTube where I'll post it and can read these poems again and again. And some of them are certainly one to be read over. The last poem is one I look forward to reading over very much, Donna. Thank you. Yeah. And wow. Next I have Skyle. And is that how I'm pronouncing it right? Correct?
Sky's the limit.
I'm sorry, Sky's. Sky's the limit. It's a great name. Sizer is a multi-talented writer, artist, and open mic host in East Tennessee. Her writing spans various literary genres before gravitating towards spoken word poetry in 2015. And she believes no matter who or what or where it is, if you can write it, you can make it come true somewhere. I think that's a good way to start. Thank you, Skyza.
Thank you. I've got two. I'm going to start with this one first. All right. Can everybody see that?
Yeah, I can see it, yes.
A little bit of an older one. Trains, part 3, 4 a.m. When you love them too fast like a runaway train, and the maggots continue to mangle your brain, when he rips out and ruptures your every last thought, when she stole all emotion, never to get caught. All your tears have trains too, but the heart's brakes run sore, and you do not remember what beats anymore. Snap a shot of these ruins and then stare at the film, because you fell out of dreams back into your own realm. You're waiting for hope, but that train doesn't run, and the years turn to fears while the night melts the sun. You've torn time to pieces. It's now just a scar on the back of your mind where no one looks that far. Your smile's dried and rotting, for it's been recalled, so you pick up a pen to fill in all its flaws. There are trains all around us with prices to match, but when it's 4 a.m, which one will you catch? So that's the first one. Can y'all see this one to make sure? It's called Gasoline Rainbows. Can you see that? Let me switch it out. Hold on.
Sure.
Just to make sure. Can you see it now? Yes, okay. Can you see it, Mark?
Yes.
All right. Gasoline Rainbows. I shudder, trying to punch the urge to regurgitate my lunch. It fails and my thoughts cannot bail fast enough, so I vomit these words onto the page. I can't keep every televised scene caged in my head. Too late for the people who chose to ignore it, too costly for the lives who hadn't known war before it, and I rant about food coming up when ish is going down. Local people don't see me, I'm invisible in this town, but I couldn't imagine being an invisible country. Unless others live there, no one can truly see you. And all I can think about is, will history be you? Or will you be only history? A place everyone once knew was there, but no one cared enough to free you from a potential extinction because every man for himself. Are we just gonna put books about you back on the shelf? As if we didn't learn the lessons that people's lives matter over wealth. And you're still here with me, but I can't touch you, see you, feel you, and you're still breathing, screaming. Some people say it's not the real you. For their theories of fake news, one run more stations than fuel, but you can't afford to care when gasoline rainbows are in the air. Ribbons of smoke choking you while the world dawns yellow and blue, saying they're in support, but right now you're not sure if it's even true. And I can't imagine the fear you go through. My stomach turns again while you are only trying to survive, and I keep vomiting these words for your sake, hoping to God you stay alive amid rocket shells on the horizon, hoping they're out of range and sight, hoping they won't rock your family to sleep on any given night because you should. You should be able to soothe your kids to slumber without worrying that your nation is going under. You should always be honored for the greatness, the glory, without having World War III anywhere in your story. You're not another historical landmark, has been. You're so much more than the predictions. This isn't the end for you. My stomach starts to settle as my pen starts to dry, but I still smell those rainbows that you hide from in the sky. And even though I'm miles away from what I cannot see, no matter what our courses will be, you're visible to me, thinking about you, Ukraine. That's all I got.
Well, that's not an all. That's a lot I got. Thank you, Skyza.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Mark. It's like, oh, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's ultimately very important that we all leave some testament of this as you have, and appreciate that a lot, Skyza. Very nice to have you here. Krista, are you ready? Oh, sorry, you're on mute there, Chris.
I don't think I'm so mute right now. This is the book that I was talking about, my mentor's book, Hope is a Blind Bard by Sister Maura Eichner.
Yeah, we saw it, yeah.
My parents let me come back to the United States in 1968. I attended Jesuit College, Loyola College, and right next door was the College of Notre Dame, where I attended poetry classes with Sister Maura. And so this is about the book that I bought. 2 books for Sister Maura, in memory of Sister Maura Eichner. In the wake of Haitian earthquakes, black, dusty corpses hauled from collapsed buildings, that the book by my late mentor in poetry sits remaindered, sold and resold for $2 seems a cheap thought. The poem she wrote about the 3 nuns and a lay worker raped and murdered by a Salvadoran death squad, loose hanging heads gaped with gun holes. Eta, Dorothy, Jean, Maura, dilemma. Shall I choose instead the flat poetry of the rock artist, much higher priced, the still living and better known scribe? I choose instead the blind bard who sold her mule and went back into the cave to teach. And this is a image from the Merseyside area. Port Sunlight, Spring Flowers by Brian Mason. I'll take the bliss and give the tragedy and sadness a miss. A celebrated appendage. English actor David Niven quipped when a streaker interrupted the Oscars. The only laugh that man will ever get is by stripping and showing his shortcomings. But Niven was once caught short himself. His penis got frostbite while filming a skiing sequence for the Pink Panther. Advised that the best first aid would be to soak his wounded member in alcohol, he retired to the restroom with a brandy snifter, declaring, "I always like to give it a drink now and then." And this is the Washington Monument in Baltimore, which Mark might well know, in a photograph by Fred Lone. One of my history friends, rather one of my poetry friends, noticed that the Washington Monument is in the shape of a penis with a little man coming out of it, which he thought was very appropriate. And this is going back to my Liverpool background. In 1989, we had a tragedy at a football match in which 96 football fans were crushed to death. Since then, there's been a 97th fan who died just a couple of months ago. And he was in a wheelchair for a very long time. Adrian Henry was both a poet and a artist, and he did the painting that you see on the right, Flowers for Liverpool. Flowers for Adrian Henry, 1932 to 2000. The worn flagstones of Mount Street, opposite the Liverpool Institute. The head's office. I remember his cabinet full of silver trophies as he turned me down as a new pupil. 30 years later, I sat on your settee on 21 Mount Street, a cabinet with a dead magpie in it, garlanded with paste jewellery, as I drank coffee with Conniani. Conniani is condensed milk, by the way, and listened to your rich Liverpool accent. Adrian, pop poet, pop artist, one of the triumvirate of 60s Liverpool poets, Henry, McGough, Patton. You stayed while Roger and Brian decamped to the smoke, but you were the first to die, debilitated after your stroke. Your big body, wasted but still, as in your poetry and your artwork. I want to paint, as you painted the football field of bouquets after the Hillsborough disaster of '89. Flowers for Liverpool. Yes, every spring, every day, it's flowers for Adrian. And I'll finish with this one, which is one of the poems by Sister Mora. Our Lady of the Refugees. Mother who knew what hardship shakes, a woman bundling clothes and putting by her wheaten cakes. Mother who urged the donkey, making happy riot on the struggling stones, urged the beast to be more quiet. Mother who heard the child whimper beneath the thin blue shawl, our aching prayer cries out to you. Mother, prayer for them all. 1,000 Bethlehems, masked dark tonight. The lamps of friendly homes have lost their light. Pathetic heaps of poor and homely things are laid aside. A small bird sang where a latched door swings. Mother, whose sad Egyptian flight preceded all of these, guide them in faith beneath familiar stars, Our Lady of the Refugees. Thank you, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, thank you, Chris. What a great sculpture. What was that sculpture that we were looking at? It's really the most unique.
I need to research that. I came across the poem and I came across the image, but I need to find out where that sculpture is.
Well, they work very nicely together. And thank you for not thank you for doing an ekphrastic poem about David Niven. I think the poem would have sufficed. Well, we have two poets left, Oksana and then Elemental. Thank you for waiting around. And Oksana, I recently met. Oksana Nuria Mauricio was born in Angola, Africa. She's a writer, educator, advocate for ethnic, race, gender, and diverse backgrounds. Her poetry was published as Barrio in the Journal of Expressive Writing in January of 22, and Moonshine Arts Center. The More the Merrier is part of the International Women's Day Anthology, and in March of 22, titled Another World is Not Only Possible, She is on Her Way. She enjoys nature walks, reading, singing, skateboarding, and currently lives in Los Angeles, California. Welcome, Oksana.
Thank you. Thank you, Finn, for the invite, and Mark, too, for allowing me in. I'm so glad to be here. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna get to sharing. I really enjoyed all the poems so far. It's been great seeing some lovely faces and new faces and stuff. I'm gonna try to share right now. I believe it's this one right here.
You got it.
Yeah, so I have a couple poems. I know that. So this one, the first one is called Forest Baiting. I don't know, I'm gonna try to, okay, I wasn't sure if I like, anyways. Yeah, this one is called Forest Baiting. Like pebbles, I'm impermanence and solid as the rocks I drew at a distance in my birdland, recognizing the long forgotten memories, sipping, breathing each layer of nature effects, forest baiting, suiting no soreness in my caramel skin, not an ounce of my body departed from the ground, this time connected, intertwined like brothers in another lifetime, more whispers of echoes traveling to and fro. The hour has come to unleash, detached, unplug, all hyper connectivity, technologies, machines, devices, turning us from our better selves and halves, fodder disassociation instead of basking in corners of nature. Trees I rooted like I wish to be, waving farewell with one hand dispositioned and more tells and relocations than I could count. I noticed the bareness of branches calling attention. I seem to listen to birds, the shaking of leaves in my neighbor's husky willow pine tree shivering from the early morning dew. I sat in meditation, butterfly posture in a concrete soil, descending and transcendent from consciousness in unison with Maya ancestors, a dash of wizard blue in the Unicasha's sky. So that's the first one. This one is called Sophisticated Vocals. Too loud, too soft to touch. I've been told to be sophisticated as if it's too much on my hands, on theirs to bear. It's my burden. You are concerned, is it? It's demented shame and anxious voice inside their brain, caged and boxed in whatever never was. Fear has a way to trap one's life cycle into another before you wake up. There or here it is. But much later, older, and now instead of a little stone, it's a heavy backpack filled with pebbles collected over time. Like dust finding their way inside tired, frail, and unpleasant furniture, who seem to have no other choice but to accept it's a present. Who cleans it every day due to the dust and my allergies? I, Madame, the pinnacle of unsettling events or global warming changes. Doesn't matter whose voice whispers while birds chirping, abandoned, lonely at that time of hour, rocking the nest, but safe in another man's, woman's foreland. So this one is Queen. The time she pronounced me as rebellious feminist for speaking boldly about my worldviews, standing true to my values, regardless what anyone thinks, regardless of who evades or come into my role to bash instead of being mesmerized by it. A feminist who lash out every once in a while, the queen in me who stomps and marches into quiet, well-respected places, a queen with the African turban shape of multicolored wrap sex accented in her head with unruly, kinky curled, laying down in her freckled bare skin face. Queen, are you now, madam? Where did you came from? An era where black and white existed, dancing in the rain with a white umbrella bigger than I, bouncing, twerking, and shaking my booty as strangers with neat lent, black lace, silhouette waist down, 4 inches heeled, screaming through vicinities, hooray, arise, wake up, little birds, get your bellies out. It's sunny, it's the hour and time where you drop and pick up mud and throw at the civilians and apologetic and regretful, only smiling, laughing evil-like, and they, as conservative men, stare speechless and wet. Oh. This one, yeah. Well, somebody was gonna say something because I heard something. Do I still have time?
Yeah, close up with this one, sure.
Okay, let me see. No, I'd rather do this one because this is for Ukraine. It's my first poem that I have.
Oh, thank you, sure.
Okay, so this one is Ukraine, I remember. I promised baby, mother, sheltered and trained, 2, 3, 4, you counted, shelterless. The stripping of a soul hurried, unprepared for letting go of what was in homes, regular routine, school, work, play, work, dinner, clean up, dishes in a pile. The day all happened, where were you? On which planet were you hiding in the vast universe? I suppose it doesn't really matter if it wasn't your plan of destruction or alienation of implementing human suffering through wars. Rise, my sister, brothers, fathers, children, frightened with uncertainty in a land I've never been. Without seeing you, I feel the sting in my skin from my beckle, tidy up home. My needing to be there with you in your final, most tempest hours where here I am, Ukraine. I'm not sleeping well, enough with empathy. I believe your loins understand me. Thank you.
Wow.
Ow, ow, ow.
Thank you. Really? How interesting how each one of us uses modern poetry in so many different varieties of craft, of written craft and words, enjambments and different ways we find lines and ways to express ourselves. And it's fascinating. I mean, I guess 100 years ago, or maybe 200 years ago, you wrote poetry all the same way, right, in a box. But today it's a wide open field. And thank you for sharing that. Well, our last poet, last but certainly by no means least, of course, is Elemental. Elemental is every time I see Elemental, I'm awed. So I expect to be the same today. Elemental is a true performance writer, uses his training in projection, presence, wordplay, storytelling to connect with audiences in a virtual world in a very real way. For the past 10 years, he's worked tirelessly from Glassless Minds to the New York Poets Cafe and every slam in between to refine his art with a connection to past, present, and future poets to help his poetry move forward in the most creative ways. He's a harbinger of power of lightning, writing wrongs into poems, one storm at a time, fueled by his desire to enlighten all who hear him, driven by his passion for truth, speaking with an accent of change, unapologetically, deadly revolutionary, a true student, fan, and consumer of all things creativity. Poetry is his native tongue. His first book, Calamity, which I'm proud to own, is available through Red and Green Press and the website, which we'll put on the chat. Elemental, thanks for hanging around and for being and all sorry I couldn't get you in there earlier, but I like that the last minute thing, but great to have you.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. It is strange now I understand it. It is strange hearing how people read your introduction. It's interesting. To every poet who has came before me and after, and I'm closing today, but I truly appreciate all of your energy, all of your creative genius. Truly, it empowers me to do what I do. I thank you for hanging out today and sharing in this poetic energy. I have a few things that I'll share with you folks today, a couple of things that I've written for today, and one that I just will premiere today. So I will do the fishbine and share my screen here. Couple of haiku, a sonnet, and then a freeform piece. So both of these are a haiku. Were we listening when he said mercy, mercy, or were we deaf then? Second, humanity lives in days of togetherness, fighting true evil. The sonnet is called B over B, which is Bombs Over Brotherhood. War has lived in our hearts well before now. From Tulsa to Black Wall Street, we have seen horrible atrocities and have vowed to fight our foes in any medium. Requiem of genocide coincide with holiday season, call it festive, digestive tract filled with vile enzyme called nationalism, no color lines. We've compromised all our lives. How much more should we endure before truth is revealed? Senseless celebrations for explorers expose coded language of raw New Deal. Truth is, power corrupts absolutely when pushed by pens of men who have nothing past odd Napoleon complexities to harvest suffering from loving trees. So this, I truly appreciate you. Truly appreciate the space of Planet Poetry. This has always been an amazing space for every poet to come and share their work, to not only present their work, but present their words. And that can be a really vulnerable experience. So I appreciate you for that, Mark. This is brand new, a little bit longer form. This, again, brand new, still wet paint. This is perfect canvas or blank pages of history, no matter the caliber of fallacy. 70s baby style, because I'm 70s baby. From lost shores to explorers of flat Earth, Copernicus concepts where constellations carry names of cerebral, celestial restrictions of thinking past blank slate that makes supremacy gloriously gorgeous, painted in infinite galaxies of history on 23.5-degree axis of ill will. You'll find this blue pill, oasis of equal opportunity connoisseurs, put hatred in orbit, no Sputnik, see its magnificence twinkling in twilight space odyssey, no Iliad, manifest destiny of select few sent to challenge laws of physics as if they equal energy times speed of light squared in round holes or abstract angles of misguided hopes toward Eden, before, during, and after hunting season, chose terror tactics as perfect distractions for voting and learning, turning other cheeks to keep piece of pie tasteless as desired, in names of safe streets after old world criminals, despicable generals for communities protected and served with rogue undertones and a sick twisted way. Warriors come out to play, warriors come out to play, to keep the future swayed by white knights under vanilla skies, or aliens in blue tights. Call it super national or super soldier or super powered painting of big dog status with big hog habits of yanking chains, throwing pennies, make it trickle down. Call it rain checks for every dollar left behind. This 400-year head start, better known as racial hierarchy, done so deftly, delicately, extracting full potential of nasty, basted with barbarism at just the right temperature, fresh out the frying pan into the fire of masterpiece theater, while we left with a bill of rights, bill of sale, bill for services rendered for refined belligerents of African descendants. Bitch, please, we are true beings of Eden, which is in Africa. In Africa, fall in line with children of the sun who never asked for a version of your dominance, simply within but without. Within but without same treachery that's filled our hearts with ABCs and CBSs and NBCs of the American existence. Tell me, which direction is north when your sense of guidance lies just south of your intestinal fortitude or superiority? Tell me, what do blind eyes see with wide shut tunnel visions of the way things used to be, when common sense was a tertiary reference for treating people with humanity? Maybe I'm asking too much in this land of Christianity, where crusaders roam Greece, squeaky wheels of Spartan deities on and off silver screen pipe dreams of colorless societies. Think more Planet of the Apes, see color as primal, no Caesar, that's lethal, less birth of a nation where complexion exists in optimal range of control beyond scope of SES or bourgeoisie regulations that make the pen mightiest sword ever forged by hands of false gods, used to hammer and chisel commandments on stone tablets, turn verses of national anthem in the Francis Scott Key. Persecution, passing judgment for disconnect from slave mentality. How dare we, the people, actually demand God-given rights from Maleficent Grand Dragon, speaking with a Neanderthal drawl with proper diction, to textbook the truth into stories of white flight morphed into triumph? Or controlling a population with a devilish grin that always starts with the biggest fuck you I've ever heard, my fellow Americans? Who do you think they're speaking to? Because we the people, the 99% don't speak genocide. We speak revolution. Peace.
What a finish. What a finish.
That's right. Great finish.
I think it's take us a little while to get our mouths closed after that. But wow, that's so unique also, Elemental. I've heard you as often as I can, and to see your work also on the page as you read it and how you do it is a gift, and I want to thank you for that. I love watching your performances, but it gave me a little extra lift to actually see it too, and how you do your magic, and thank you very much for that. And thank everybody here for each one of our very individual styles of wonderful poetry that we presented here today. I think this is where poetry lives. We all publish books and, and articles and all kinds of stuff, but I don't know how many people actually buy it or how many people actually read it, but this is where poetry lives for me. And I'm so happy to be here and so happy to have enjoyed your company in this March Planet Poetry. And come again, the next one is going to be on April, which is a Thursday. I haven't figured the time yet. I'm thinking you're doing a little later, maybe 8 o'clock at night or 9, to try to get a little bit of Asia involved. I have some friends there that we're trying to read, but the time is tough. Not everybody is like Juliana, who can hang out at the early morning hours of the morning. So thank you very much. It'll shortly be on YouTube. I'll send you all an email and send you the link, and hope you'll look at it again and come back again and become part of the community. Read again, maybe not next month, but the month after. We'll keep on switching around. I try to get new voices in every month and some repeat readers, you know, every month, so we can all, you know, take a shot. And I appreciate all your presences so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was wonderful.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.